Okay, so what we got to do next now is we're going to make the color swatches, which allow us to pick a color, to click on an object and make it that color. So remember, we've made all of these pieces here. Now we want to be able to colorize them. We want to be able to turn them into a color. So what I want you to do is click on the color swatch label, come over here, grab the oval tool, and we're going to make one circle. Don't worry about this stroke around there because it's not going to really matter. What I want you to do now is select this, and we're going to turn it into a button. So we'll go up to Modify, Convert to Symbol, type swatch. Okay, make sure it's button and hit, and actually we're going to put the registration point in the center, hit OK, and it's now a button, and we have the swatch here, and we can use this swatch a ton of times. It doesn't really matter how many times we use it. We can use it a gazillion times if we want. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to take the snap off this. I'm going to take all the snapping off. That bugs the heck out of me. So I'm going to move it up. Okay, and I'm going to just grab a bunch of these swatches, because what we're going to do is we're going to just change the color of this button, because when we program it, we're going to program it with the color on the button. So watch what I'm talking about. Here I'm going to come here, change the tint, and I'm going to change it from white to, say, this pink. I want to remember what this color is, though, because that's going to be important later. I don't necessarily have to know, because when I go to program it, you'll see I'll be able to pick the color, but I'm just going to kind of run through here and pick some colors. Select this, change it, the tint, come back in here and pick the color. Okay, now I want to program the swatch. I want to give it some actions. I want to make sure that I'm on the swatch movie clip, so pick the swatch tab here, because that's what we're going to program. We're going to program each individual one. I'm going to type on release, and we want to say on release of the mouse button is basically what we're going to say. Once the mouse button has released, we want it to take on a color. And we're going to call this fill color equal to, okay, we can put a space in there if we want, equal, and it's 0x FF00FF was that color. Terminate it, hit enter, and we're going to close that. So on release, that changes the color. I'm going to come here to this one, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to, oops, let's do this. Remember how we did this? We're going to copy and paste each one of these, hit Control C, oops, Control C. I'm going to click on that one, click here, hit Control V, but I'm going to change this color because now I'm red. And I want to know that it's FF000, okay? So I want to make sure that I change that to FF000. And I'm going to do the same thing to this one. I'm going to hit Control V, paste in my original color, come up here and grab 000F. Okay, oops. Come in here and go 00FF. And then this one, I'm going to come in here and actually change the color. Oops, let's go back. I want to go back to the scene. I'm going to close this action real quick. I want to change the tint. I'm going to make this one black. You can have as many colors as you want here. So you could have 5 colors, 10 colors, 12 colors. You can have as many colors as you want. The idea is when you do this, you have to just program the color option in. We're about halfway done. So let's go ahead and change the tint here. I don't want it to be black. I'll make it yellow. I'll come here, change this tint, and I'll make this green. And this last tint, we'll make this something else. Why don't we make it, let's see, sky blue. So we've got our colors. Again, we need to go in and program that. Make sure your color swatch again is selected. We click here, hit V, come down here, look at your color, go 00FF. So we want to change our location here into that. So all we're doing is we're coming in and selecting each one and changing that color. You just want to go in 00FF00, so all of these have kind of a different format. And then finally our yellow, we're going to copy and paste our text from before, and then we're just going to come in here and look, and we're going to see that that's FFFF00. So we're going to get rid of that. Come back here and add 2 more F's, and we're good to go. So what we've done now is we've applied the action script to this. Okay, there's 2 things that we need to do. We need to add a brush, build a brush. It could be anything. It could be a crayon, it could be a brush, it could be a pencil, it could be anything. But the idea is to give them an idea of what they're going to be using to color their picture. In my paintbrush, I'm just going to put a little rudimentary little crayon here, let's say. Okay, I'm going to rotate this a little bit. Come in here and just turn it. Oh, I did the fill color. Let's do this. Let's select all of it, because I gave it a fill. I don't necessarily want to do that. Oh, let's make sure we don't select that. We don't want the outline. We just want the paintbrush. I'm going to rotate that right there. So I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to kind of look at it. You know, you can be as elaborate as you want on your little paintbrush. Oops. On your crayon paintbrush, you can make it whatever you want, but in this case all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to kind of give it that look. Okay. Okay, so I want to go in and turn this actually into, oops, let's quit selecting that darn thing right there. I'm going to actually turn this into, convert it to a symbol, turn it to a movie clip, and I'm just going to call it brush. I'm going to hit, no, I don't want it in capitals. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to hit OK. Now what I'm going to do is double click on the brush, and I want 2 layers. I have the brush, but then I want an action on the brush itself. I want to be able to go in and give it an action script. I want to tell it that I want it to start drag, to drag around. Because one of the things I'm going to do is hide the mouse, and once the action script starts, once the movie plays, it's going to hide the mouse, and now the brush becomes the mouse. So we're not going to have a finger, we're not going to have an arrow when this program starts. We're going to have the brush become actually the arrow. So what I want to do is I'm going to click on this little cell right here, this only cell. I'm going to go to Actions, and now what I'm going to say is I want it to start drag. Okay, and I want it to be close quotes. Okay, that's my target. It's open, and I want to say I want it to be true. I'm giving it a true statement. I'm closing it, terminating it, the program, the line of programming. So what I have now is I have this brush that hopefully, if we save this, will move around. So let me look and see control. Oh, one more thing. On the actions here, I want to say that I want to hide the mouse. I want to hide this little arrow. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to come in here on this, and again I click that cell in the action script section, in the action script, and I want to be able to go in and program that to hide. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to say mouse hide, and see what it does right there. It says mouse hide, terminate it, and now I'm terminating that portion of the script. And if I go in, I'm going to save this, and let's see if we can test the movie and see if it works. Oh, I have an action script error. So, oh, but look at how my mouse, you can see, I'm going to go back to that error in just a second. Notice right here how my little brush now is moving. So if I click here and then I click here, I'm still not getting something, so I got to go in and figure out what's going on. But at least now I know that my mouse hide and my drag brush are all working. So I'm going to go back and look and see what the error is in this program. Okay, so it's important to debug whatever it is you're working on, and in this case one of the things that we need to do is check our programming. I was going through and checking the window here, and I wanted to test my movie, and I had a problem because I went to click here and it's not changing color, and I'm thinking, what in the world did I do wrong? So I clicked here and I made my changes. I gotta click here and notice that it will change now. What's happening is I'm having some problems with my little clickers and making some color changes here. I need to be very careful about where I place my selection tool here. So it's real important to note that this needs to be down here. So when I come in here to look at the brush, as I want to do, I want to make sure that my selection point isn't up here, but this should be down here. Okay, down in the tip here if we can get it, or down at the end as close as possible, because that's important. So I'm going to hit Control S and save that. Also, I'm having a problem with my programming, and programming is so important in this because one of the things that's happening is I am not able to change my colors, and I'm getting a little frustrated because I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Again, I'm having problems with that gosh darn selection, so I want to make sure I'm looking and seeing where my selections are, my little selection buttons. This is fine, but again I want to come back here and look at this and make sure that this is exactly where I want it to be. Okay, so again, it's real important to come in here and make sure that, see, I'm back up here again. Okay, what I want to do is, I think I'm going to actually come in here and see if I can go ahead and group this, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it down there because I'm going to get rid of this issue that I'm having, and I'm going to drop it right there in the tip because I'm grouping it. What's happening is all of these lines and all of this together have different selection points. This line has its own, circular selection point or center. This line has one. This whole big white space here has one. So what I did is I grouped it so that it now has just one, and it's right there at the end. That can be such a hassle, but by grouping it, it allows me to do that. So I go back, I test my movie. I want to make sure that my selection now becomes easier. Great. Now I'm not having a problem, but I am having a bit of a problem because it's only letting me select black. Also notice that I'm not able to select any of these. So now I got to go back and look at my programming. So I'm going to open this. Remember, we put the programming on that. We want to look at our actions and notice new color. I need to put a space in there. That's my mistake. I wanted to give it a new I wanted to make sure that I programmed it right, but I made the mistake of putting these two together. We want them to be different. We want them to be separate. Okay. We don't get that same thing here, but we want to make sure that this is correct. Okay, we've got to make sure that that's correct. This is where we get screwed up, is this programming right in here. And it's so easy to do. This is kind of one of those things you just kind of, if you take a beginning programming class, you kind of learn those things. So now what I need to do is I need to actually go through each one of these and reset that programming. And see, this is where we got to make sure that program is right the first time, because if we don't, we get in trouble. It's as easy as that. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and see. The other thing I want to make sure that I'm doing is when I'm looking at these colors, I want to make sure I'm going to probably have a problem there too. I want to make sure that these things are the same. This fill color equals, and so when I look at this, remember we want to make sure fill color is one word so that we're not getting into any trouble. Okay, because these are variables that we're playing with. Okay, I'm going to go back to test movie. Let's see. Well, we're on the right track. Now we just got to figure out why we are having problems selecting our colors. Okay, so having said that, now it's a matter of debugging and going through and seeing what's going on. So that's your job now. Now you got to go through and basically we're going to debug all of this. We got to go through, whoops, we don't want the train outline, we want this guy. So we need to go back, change new color, and make those changes, okay? So you want to make sure that when you go through and you're looking at your programming, that you make sure that your fill colors and your programming is correct. Make sure that that's a capital C, that that's not a capital F, so that we go through and we're checking out our fill colors. Okay, we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. We've got everything set up. Oops. Okay, same with all of these. So we want to kind of make sure that those colors are actually changing and we're not going to get into any problems here. So that's one of the things that we really want to pay attention to and see what's going on here. Okay. We don't have any scripting on that one, and yet it's the only one that's coming up black. So makes you think, doesn't it? So let's go back in here, and we don't have any action scripting on the button itself. So let's go in. We're going to play with this color. Make sure that we put that in this one. And this color is what? Yeah, 0, 0, 0. Whoops. I want to make sure we get that. Okay. So let's go back. Let's start looking at our colors and see. And this is kind of the process that you get to when you have to make your changes. Again, we're having this problem with our selection tool. You know, sometimes it's just such a hassle. We got to go back. That's all good. So let's go back. That's good. So we're not sure why it's doing that though. So anyway, it's a process of going through and figuring it out. And that's basically what we're going to end up doing now. Is we've done the programming, we've programmed everything that we need to, and now it's a process of elimination. We just got to basically go back in and start to track, see where our mistake is. Okay, so as we start to go through all of the pieces, we want to make sure that, you know, we're making that change in the action script to those pieces. We've taken let's go back, we're going to copy the program off of this, the action script here, because we know that this is correct now. So the easiest thing for me to do basically now is to go back and make sure that this piece is correct. So as I go through, I want to make sure if I click on, if I click on the roof or the smokestack here, select out, I'm going to click here, double click that. I'm going to paste and make sure that all of these movie clips, remember we made these movie clips right here. Click off, click the wheel, gosh darn it. I'm going to click the wheel right here. I'm going to have to go in, close that right there so I can get this itself and make sure that all of these are fixed. Because once these are all fixed, now when I go in, remember this is a space between new color. Now when I go in and I test my movie, I've got an action script error, and it tells me on the smokestack. So now I've got an issue with the smokestack, so I need to go back in and look. But what I'm going to do first is click to make sure that my colors are now working. And voila, they sure are. So that's what you want to do, is you want to make sure that your programming's correct, that you're making sure that your when we look at this little puppy here, this little brush, our selection point, remember, let me close that again, is down here, so that when we've got this all grouped, it's selected. Now, you know, the other thing you could do is get rid of these lines if you really wanted to. You don't need these lines. You can get rid of all of them. Okay, hit delete. Change the color of this to, say, a brown, so it looks like it's a crayon. And then the other thing you want to do is make sure that darn selection point is correct. So you want to make sure that it's down there. I come back here, and there's my brushes in there. Okay. Make sure your colors are correct. When you, oops, let's go back to scene 1. Let's go back to this button, look at the actions, make sure that these colors match this color down here, so that when you go in and you select, oops, when you go in and make sure you select that color that's correct. Okay, so now when we go ahead and save it, test that movie again, you want to make sure that what you're getting, and we'll take care of that action script. Look at your smokestack and make sure that its on release is correct. Okay, you're going to have to go back into the smokestack symbol and look. But we want to make sure that the colors that we're choosing for our little things here are correct. Okay, so it's easy enough to do. We just want to make sure that we have gone in and made those color changes where they need to be. Because otherwise, we're just going to have a heck of a lot of problems in here. So go ahead and check that and make sure that's working for you. Okay, you're going to want to go, in this case I'm going to go back and check this error and see where in the world I have an error. Dum dum dum. On release, don't see my error, but you just never know. And it's still coming up. So, and it tells us smokestack layer, mouse events are permitted only on, oh, no kidding. So let's go back, make sure that this is in fact, oops, the movie clip, and we have it on the button. We want to make sure that that's on the button. So we want to make sure, remember, because what it's telling us is it's only for the button. So this is one of those times when, you know, you're going to have to go in and make sure that your programming's correct, you've done all the right things, otherwise you end up with just this huge mess. So this is a good exercise for us to go back and check everything, and we can see where we made our mistakes. If you have any problems, give me a call.